Okay, very good morning to dear friends of MA Part 1. We started the journey yesterday, the day before yesterday. And in that entire class, I told you many things about this particular year, that is MA Part 1. And I just took a review of all those things that you have learned in BA Part 3, doing paper number 11 and paper number 16. So fundamentally, you have already been acquainted with the study of language, the characteristics of language, function of language, and you have been quite fundamentally been exposed to some basic branches of linguistics, that is phonetics, phonology, and morphology, as well as syntax. And this year, it is going to be a bit bigger what you have done so far, because I have already told you that every new year is going to be a kind of an enhancement. The year of BA Part 2 was an enhancement, academic enhancement of BA 1. BA 3 was an enhancement of BA Part 2, academic activities. And likewise, the thing go on. So when we are dealing with this paper, that is Introduction to Modern Linguistics, it is important that we need to be familiar with some of the prerequisite conditions, prerequisite essentials, so that those things will help us in understanding things better. And that's why today I'll be talking about this linguistics, how we are going to deal with this paper, what are the modules that are going to be there for you, and how we are going to get some understanding about this modern linguistics. I just want you to just concentrate on this particular term, that is Introduction to Modern Linguistics. It means that we are not going to specialize in modern linguistics, neither are we going to have a thorough study of modern linguistics. Uh, Quite precisely, we are just going to have some kind of understanding about some of the more basic branches of linguistics. Till, till now, you've been exposed to the basic branch of phonetics, phonology, morphology, and syntax. But this year, you'll be introduced to some more fundamental disciplines of linguistics, that in a very fundamental manner, that in a very generic manner. So the title of the paper is Introduction to Modern Linguistics. The things, the title makes it clear to you that we are not going to make a specialized study of modern linguistics. We are not going to specialize any of the disciplines of linguistics, but all the disciplines, modern disciplines of linguistics, we are just going to be familiar with. It is an introduction. So we are going to learn certain things, basic things about semantics, going to learn basic things about pragmatics, going to learn the basic things about stylistics, going to learn the basic things about sociolinguistics. So these are some of the branches of linguistics that are prescribed for you for this semester and the next semester. I already told you that you're going to complete your post-graduation involving 4 semesters: semester 1, semester 2, semester 3, and semester 4. And I already told you that the day that we are witnessing, that in the month of February, we are dealing with the first semester. But anyhow, we are quite feel blessed to feel that, yes, we have been in the process and will continue to get go with our work. Okay, this is going to be the title of the paper, that is Introduction to Modern Linguistics. And in this particular semester, that is semester number 1, you'll be having 4 papers, which I have already told you. The first paper is going to be Literature in English, Poetry. The second, Literature in English, that is novel. Then the third, that is Introduction to Modern Linguistics. And number 4, it is going to be the Indian English Literature, Poetry. So these are the 4 papers that are at your disposal for this semester and even in the next semester. Correct? So regarding this paper, that is Introduction to Modern Linguistics, let me tell you what are going to be the modules prescribed for you for semester number 1. So in semester number 1 for the year 2020-21, you will be prescribed 4 units, the syllabus of which I already shared with you on the Google Classroom. I hope that you must have got access to it. And before we get into the understanding about this modern linguistics, it is important to make some kind of understanding about the modules which we are going to deal with in this particular semester. So there are going to be 4 modules, and these 4 modules address the 4 different aspects of study of language and linguistics. The first module is going to be the study of linguistics in general, in which we're going to learn the aim of linguistics. We are going to learn about linguistics, how does it undertake the study of language. We're going to learn about the nature of linguistics. We are going to learn about the function of linguistics. We are going to learn about the basic branches of linguistics. And we are also going to learn about some basic terminology, some basic terms that are being used by the modern linguist related to linguistics, related to the study of language. We have great masters, great stalwarts who have contributed tremendously to the study of language and linguistics. When we think about the term linguistics, the name Ferdinand de Saussure comes to our mind. When we think about linguistics, the name of Noam Chomsky come to our mind. So these are the two stalwarts who have comprehensively contributed to the study of language and linguistics, and they, in their propositions, in their theories, they have given given some references to certain terms. So all these terms we're going to understand, though in a very fundamental manner. We're going to learn about signifier, signified, what is meant by a linguistic sign, what is meant by a signifier, what is meant by a signified, how the signifier and the signifier are interrelated. Huh? All of these linguistic terms we are going to understand in the first module. So the first module entitled as the linguistics or the study of linguistics, in which we are going to undertake some of the terms like nature of linguistics, function of linguistics, aim of linguistics, branches of linguistics, and certain fundamental terminology being used in linguistics. So these are some of the sub-points we're going to cover in the first module called linguistics. The second module that we're going to deal after the completion of the first module is going to be semantics. So semantics is one of the important branches of linguistics that deals with the study of meanings of words in language. But for the first time ever in the history of the linguistic study, the notion of meaning has been taken into consideration. Now, up to the end of 19th century, the study of language was confined only to some formal aspects of language. What were those formal aspects of language? The formal aspect of sound, the formal aspect of word, the formal aspect of structure, the formal aspect of the hierarchy. So these were the basic aspects that were covered in the study of language in linguistics up to the end of 19th century. But with the inception of the 20th century, you find that there came so many grammarians, there came so many linguists who started addressing the different aspects of language other than the sound, than the words, other than the structure. So, for the first time ever in the history of this linguistic study, the notion of meaning has been taken into account. So, from the year 1892, no, that was the initial initial year in which the notion of meaning has been taken into account. And then there came so many grammarians, there came so many semanticians, there came so many linguists who started undertaking the thorough study of meaning. So it has given birth to a different discipline called semantics. So we are going to understand certain basic things about the meanings of words. Normally, by this time, we know that every word in the language has a meaning, right? Whether it is Marathi, whether it is Hindi, English, French, Latin, German, Sanskrit, all of these languages, they have n number of words. And by this time, we feel that all these words have a meaning, have their corresponding meaning. But we are going to learn in semantics that the word does not have a meaning, but the word has different shades of meaning. We're going to understand 7 types of meaning as propagated by Geoffrey Leach, whom we have referred to during our structure and function of modern English last year. You had referred to the book no, written by Geoffrey Leach last year, just while studying clauses, while studying phrases, while studying discourse analysis. No, so the name of Geoffrey Leach is being respected for his pronouncement in the field of linguistics, particularly semantics. So he has identified or he has articulated 7 types of meaning. The word does not have only one meaning, it has different shades of meaning. The first one, what we call the theoretical, no, thematic language, no, connotative language, stylistic meaning. So there are 7 types of meaning. The first being what we call thematic meaning, connotative meaning, stylistic meaning, affective meaning. So all of these different shades of meaning we are going to cover in semantics, though in a very fundamental manner. So this is going to be your second unit in which we are going to undertake the basic study of the meanings of words in the language. The third module we are going to undertake is what we say it is the study of the entire process of communication under the discipline called pragmatics. So pragmatics is a very important discipline in linguistics that takes into account the entire fabric of the communication. It takes into account how the messages are transmitted, how the messages are received, how the messages are interpreted in the course of conversation, in the course of communication. So I would say that it is the study of language in totality. We're going to undertake some of the psychological things into consideration while studying the process of communication. So it is going to be a very interesting study, and I'm hopeful that whatever that you're going to learn in this paper, I have already told you at the very beginning that this is the paper that is going to shape up your personality. It is something that is going to shape up your perception of personality. It is going to shape up your it is going to shape up your presentation. It is going to shape up your entire, no, entire protocol of your speech habits. And that's why it should not be looked at just only from the examination point of view. So whatever we're going to learn here, theoretically, we people are going to be applying in our day-to-day situations. Because ultimately, when you complete your graduation, when you complete your post-graduation, you get into the world. You get into the world of affairs. You get into the job market. And there at every corner, at every place, you have to interact with the people. You have to deal with the people. You have to talk to the people. You have to speak with the people, right? And there, this language is something that is going to make a distinction between you and the rest of the people and say that how good you are as a person, as a speaker, as a leader, as a student, and as a human being. And that's why, in the very beginning, I tell you, whatever the theoretical knowledge that we are going to derive in this paper, we are going to apply them. It's a matter of application. It is applied linguistics. It is not something that learn, understand, and keep the things in our mind. No, we are going to apply. This is what you have done last year. Why did we learn this phonetics? Only just for the sake of passing the examination? No. Why did you learn phonology? Only to pass the examination, get the good score in that paper? No. Why did you learn morphology? Only is it only just for the sake of passing that particular unit or passing that particular paper? No. So whatever the knowledge that you derive, studying all those basic things about language and linguistics there in BA3 and even in MA1, are going to apply them in our day-to-day life. And this is something that is going to make a distinction, make or draw a line between you and the people around and your competitors. So this is something that is what I call as an index that is going to be a kind of index of judgment. And your personality, your persona, your presentation, your skills, your linguistic skills, your oral skills, your spoken skills, all will be assessed, all will be examined when you get into the job market, whatever the field be, whether it is banking, whether it is corporate, whether it is IT, whether teaching profession, whatever the professions that you think of making a career, your career, all these scenarios, in all these spectrums, in all these fields, this is something that is going to come to your great help. And that's why I appeal to you that not only you look at these topics, just from the theoretical perspective, not only from the examination perspective, but from your widened life perspective. Correct? So these are the four modules that are going to be there for you. The first module is going to be there for you as a linguistics. Second, going to learn about the basic terminology of linguistics. The third module will be of semantics, and the fourth module will be of pragmatics. So this is something that we're going to enjoy, we're going to eat in this first semester. Correct? After completion of the first semester, we'll be letting you know how we are going to frame your academic calendar, because we are just waiting the guidelines from Shivaji University Kolhapur. Though we are an autonomous college, but still we are affiliated to Shivaji University Kolhapur, and we have already prepared our own calendar, and we are just waiting to get the guidelines from Shivaji University Kolhapur regarding the planning of the academic activities for the students of MA1 who got lately admitted in this particular system, that is in the month of December. So quite possibly we are going to begin, we already begun, but the month of February and the month of March. So these 2 months are there that we will be dealing with semester number 1. After this, we will be having the period of assessment in which you will be tested in SEE, semester end examination, as well as continuous comprehensive evaluation. So these are the two things which I shared with you in the last class. So you will be having an advantage of having a different examination structure from the other students of Shivaji University Kolhapur doing MA Part 1. They have got 80 plus 20 pattern, but we people have got 60 plus 40 pattern. So you will be having the 60 marks theory paper for each paper, and 40 marks we have reserved for your internal assessment, what we call continuous comprehensive evaluation. And you will be tested periodically, right? In terms of home assignment, in terms of oral, in terms of MCQ, in terms of research paper, in terms of research project. So these are the modules we have prepared for you, we have designed for you, through which you will be examined, you will be assessed internally. So this internal evaluation is a kind of additional work for the teacher in autonomy. University has only just 20 marks, right? And university expects that the teacher should conduct certain measures for about 20 marks and send those marks to the university. But here in the autonomic scenario, what we have done, we have taken a drastic decision, or we have taken an important decision in the interest of the students, because we want our students to be employable. We want our students to be ready to take up any of the challenges. We want our students, right, to take on any of the stresses that are going to be there in your life ahead. And that's why this is something that we have decided for you, and you will be tested internally for 40 marks, and for 60 marks there for you. And we have maintained a separate head of passing. Means whatever the mark that you score out of 60 and whatever the mark that you score out of 40, they will not be directly get mixed with. We have kept the criteria for passing. The minimum criteria for passing for 60 mark examination, theory examination, will be of 24. Means you will have to score at least 24 out of 60 marks in each paper, along with, provided that you'll be scoring 16 out of 40. There we will be conducting 3 to 4 activities, maybe 3, maybe 4. Okay, and those 4 activities, of which you will be scoring minimum 16 marks. So 24 of the theory examination and 16 from this internal examination, those will be directly get tuned with in getting the result on your sheet. And that's why we have maintained a separate head of passing. And that's why you have to take it bit seriously, your work, your attendance, your involvement, so that you would definitely get benefited of these processes. Because ultimately, this autonomy is meant for you. It is meant for you and your prospect. And though we have got some additional work, we have some additional burden, we have invited this burden for you in your interest. And that's why, as an autonomous college coordinator, as a NAC coordinator, as an IQSC coordinator, as a faculty in the Department of English, I'm telling you that these things will definitely help you in ensuring your prospect, your greater prospect in the areas that you have decided to go for. Up till last 80s and 90s, the students doing MA English, they had only couple of opportunities to make their career in. They used to maximum number of students used to prefer the teaching jobs. But now the whole world is open for you. You can think of making career in whatever field you like, though you are MA English, right? So you can make a career in IT, you can make a career in banking, you can make a career in administrative officer, as an administrative officer, administrative service, forest services. So n number of avenues are open for you, and that's why this paper is going to be of your great help if you take these things seriously. Otherwise, since you are in the process, you would be definitely off the process with a degree in your hand. But there have been number of students having the degrees in the hand but waiting for the opportunities. They do not get jobs, right? So this is the grim reality that we are facing in the present time. But at the same time, on the other hand, we have some couple of students, handful of students who are getting quite successful in their life with certain additional skills which they have acquired along with this particular course, this program. So you have to keep yourself open. You have to keep yourself open to all those good things which are happening around you. You look at them as a model, and whatever the model that you get fascinated of, you try to acquire it. Because to acquire a good thing is always a good thing, right? You have so many people around, you have so many things happening around, and whatever the things, whatever the person, the way he speaks, whatever that appeals you, whatever that fascinates you, whatever that affects you in a positive way, you try to acquire it as an additional component of your personality. And this would definitely come to help in your near future. And that's why I'm taking some time in letting you know about the modules that are prescribed for you for the next for this semester. Next semester, you'll be introduced to two more basic branches of linguistics called sociolinguistics and stylistics. What is sociolinguistics? Sociolinguistics is a branch in linguistics that deals with the study of language in relation to society. How the language being used by people in day-to-day situation in the society is what is the essence in sociolinguistics. We're going to learn many things about the variation, how the language goes on changing, what are the factors affecting the language change, what are the factors that bring in language variation, lingual variation, what is meant by dialect, what is register, what is polyglot. So all of these interesting things we're going to cover in sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics, correct? So it is the study of language in relation to society. After that, we'll be dealing with the study of stylistics. What is the stylistics? Stylistics is the study of the style of the writer. How does a writer make use of language in writing poetry? How does a dramatist make use of language in writing drama? How does a novelist make use of language in writing the novel? How does a short story writer make use of writing the short story? So the language is an individual affair. When it comes to me, it is me to decide how I should be speaking, how I should be writing. So that lingual aspect of language is taken into account with literature. That is stylistic. Style sticks. Style. The word style is very much known to us. No, we say it's the Amitabh Bachchan way of style of acting, Lata Mangeshkar's way of singing, Lata Mangeshkar style, Harivansh Rai Bachchan style, right? Shah Rukh Khan style. So the word style is very much known to us. But when it comes in the context of language, we are going to understand that how does a writer make use of language as a poet. What are the features that are maintained in writing poetry? So this year in this paper, you will be introduced to four important basic branches of linguistics. Last year, you dealt with phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, correct? This year, you'll be introduced to four the basic branches of linguistics entitled semantics, pragmatics, sociolinguistics, and stylistics. Is it clear? Okay, now we'll move on to introduction to modern linguistics. I have already told you that it is going to be a generic understanding about linguistics. We are not going to specialize semantics, neither are we going to specialize pragmatics, nor are we going to specialize sociolinguistics, nor are we going to specialize stylistics. We are just going to be familiar with some basic understanding about semantics, pragmatics, sociolinguistics, and stylistics. And that's why we have given this title to this paper, that is Introduction. It is an introduction, correct? Now, how can we define linguistics? We say that linguistics is a systematic study of language. Now, when we look at this particular term, linguistics, we say that it is a systematic study of language. When you were in BA Part 3, dealing with structure and function of modern English, you learnt about language, correct? You learnt about the characteristics of language. You say that language is primarily speech, language is vocal, language is a means of communication, language is symbolic, language is arbitrary, language is a social phenomenon, correct? Language is always in a state of flux. You have written the answer to the question, no? Write the characteristics of language. You say that language is human, language is non-instinctive, language is always in a state of flux, language is primarily speech, language is primary, speech is primary, language is a social phenomenon, language is symbolic. So such characteristics you identified when you're dealing with paper number 11, that is structure and function of modern English. Now, when I say that linguistics is a systematic study of language, surfacially it looks simple. Surfacially it looks very casual. But when you try to dissect it, it gives many, you can say questions to our mind. It creates many questions to our mind. The first question, that is, what is meant by a systematic? What is meant by systematic? Second question that we get from the definition, what is language? And the third question that we get of from this definition, that how a language can be studied. Correct? What is the first question that we get from the definition? What is systematic? Second, what is language? And the third, how a language can be studied systematically. So before we get into the understanding about some more things in detail, let us try to work on these three words or three questions. What is meant by systematic? The word systematic is very much known to us, right? What is a system? System involves a discipline. It involves a system. It involves a protocol. And when a matter that is being studied, if it is studied with a discipline, if it is studied with a system, we call it a systematic study. When you look at the scientists working in the laboratory, right, they apply a systematic way of studying the matter. What they do? First, they observation. No, a scientific study involves certain processes, systematic procedures. The first, observation. Second, when you observe, you make certain understanding and make some prepositions called hypothesis. The third, analysis, experimentation, and final procedure that the scientist derives is conclusion. So observation, building hypothesis, analysis, experimentation, conclusion. So when a matter, any of the matter, if it is studied applying these procedure, we call it a systematic study. Let me give an example of Isaac Newton. Who proposed the theory of gravitational force? You learned when you were in the schools, correct? We learned that it was Isaac Newton who proposed the theory of gravitational force. And regarding that particular theory of gravitational force, we have got a very interesting anecdote. It is said that he was having a nice time after his stomach full of a lunch. He was just having some kind of relaxation under the shade of tree. He observed, looking at the particular branches or branches of the tree, he found or he observed that the fruit fell down. He was observing. So when he observed the fruit falling down, his mind put him a question. He put a question to himself. How come? How come this fruit come down? Why didn't go up? And then he just went on studying and studying and studying, and he made some prepositions in the name of hypothesis. And he said, yes, there must be something. He didn't know initially. There must be something with the tree, with the environment, with the fruit, with the crust of earth, the outer atmosphere. There must be something. In the initial phase, he didn't know, but he said that there is something. He built the hypothesis that there is something which attracts any object from a particular distance towards the crust of earth. With this proposition, with this hypothesis, he went on studying the matter for about next 28 years. And after putting his 28 years of his curious study, he came forward and proposed the theory of gravitational force and said that the crust of earth has a force, a gravitational force, and that attracts the objects towards itself. Why am I telling this example? You look at how did he go on. Did he propose the theory of gravitational force in the beginning? No. First, he observed. Second, he thought. He made some proposition. He built the hypothesis that there is something. Third, for 28 years, he went to different places. He went to the laboratories. He went to the different areas, different geography. He studied the soil of the ground. He studied the interior of the earth. He studied the atmosphere. He undertook a thorough study about environment, soil, environmental factors, trees, greenery, flora, fauna, all these biodiversity he took into account for next 28 years. And then he proposed the theory of gravitational force. So it is called a systematic study. So any study that involves this scientific procedure of observation, hypothesis, analysis, experimentation, conclusion, what we call is a systematic study. The second question that comes to mind, what is language? Language is something. Can you see the language? No. The matter exists in the world in two forms. कुठलीही गोष्ट अस्तित्वामध्ये दोन स्वरूपामध्ये असते. एक concrete form, दूसरा abstract form. What is the concrete form? The objects exist in reality. Objects have a physical reality, which are visible to our eyes. We can watch it, we can see it. They are called concrete. They'll आपण मूर्त म्हणतो. Having a physical reality. The chair, the table, n number of things are there which we can see. They're all concrete. But there are some things that exist. But those things, those notions do not have a physical reality. They exist in the form of our ideas. They exist in our core of mind. They exist there as an idea. They exist in our world of imagination. For example, beauty. Can you see beauty? No. We have beautiful people. But where does beauty exist? It exists as a notion, as an idea, as an understanding, as an ideology. It exists. But where does it exist? It exists in our mind. So beauty is abstract. Ugliness. Where does ugliness exist? It exists in our mind as a notion, as an understanding, as an idea. So the things exist in two forms, concrete form having a physical reality, And things exist in the abstract form. They do not have a physical reality. They're not visible. They're invisible. We cannot go and touch it. We realize it, we feel it, but we cannot see it. So when we deal with the concrete object, it is easy to apply this procedure. म्हणजे एखादी गोष्ट जर मूर्त स्वरूपामध्ये आपल्या समोर असेल तर त्याचा आपण सिस्टमॅटिक आपल्याला अभ्यास करता येतो. आपल्याला ते नीट निहाळता येतं, निरीक्षण करता येतं, त्याच्याबद्दल हायपोथेसिस बांधता येतं, त्याच्याबद्दल अनालिसिस करता येतं, एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन वी कॅन डू, वी कॅन डिराइव कंक्लुजन. But when we are dealing with something which is abstract in nature, there is a difficulty. Language is something that we realize, yet it is there. It is happening between you and me. Language are only two manifestations that you learn. Language has two modes. Language functions in two modes, speech and writing. Either we speak or we write. Speech is primary, writing is secondary, that you learned. So when we are dealing with something which is abstract in nature, naturally the problem comes to mind. And when we think about language, many things come to our mind, many notions come to our mind. When we think about language, sounds come to our mind, words come to our mind, meaning comes to our mind, structure comes to our mind, communication comes to our mind, style comes to our mind. So these are the attributes, these are the composite aspects of the abstract notion of language. And all these different aspects of language, they are taken into account in the systematic study. So we can say that a systematic study of language means a systematic study of sounds of language. Systematic study of language means a systematic study of words in language. A systematic study of language means a systematic study of meanings of words in language. A systematic study of language means a systematic study of the structures in language. A systematic study of language means is a systematic study of communication. So all of these attributes, the words, sounds, structures, meaning, communication, they are taken separately in separate discipline in linguistics. So linguistics is an umbrella term, and that has different sub-branches. And all these sub-branches of language, they are taken into account in linguistics. So today we learned about the modules, the syllabus set for this semester, next semester, and just in a very generic manner, I shared with you what is meant by the study of language. How can a language be studied systematically? And from tomorrow onwards, we'll be focusing in more detail about this linguistics. So I talked about the title of the paper, I talked about the syllabus of the paper, I talked about the linguistics, I talked about the definition, and I explained to you how a language can be studied systematically. How